veggies. Go and find everything clean. Like it's arranged.
Definitely
just
cleanness
imagine,
has to be true.
Just imagine mupanza wali watermelon. Eri watermelon. There are watermelons that you see zina, evisoto, madi, they are dirty or dusty, and you just sight onto a very clean. Which one would you go to? And it's the same price. So exactly. So whereas the other ones, this
is very evident. I say. Olaba nti newo bogenze mu restaurant okulya emmere olina byotunuulira ogamba naye wano waliwo restaurant bbiri oyinza gamba waliwo maama n'otunuulira n'ogamba
restaurant A and B zonna zirina the same curtains, you can see inside, you can
osooka nenuulira obuyonjo bw'omuntu ogamba at least at least osooka because in most cases there is a clear difference. They will not be the same. At least zonna eziba zifaanana bulungi kale olusooka osobola oyingira munda n'olya but embeera eri munda atmosphere y'omunda ekuwa at least some, because in most cases we normally businessmen urge others that it's supposed to be a first impression. If someone fails to give you a first impression ng'oyingidde mu restaurant ye tugambe nosanga emmeza nga nkyafu muli ogamba naye maama emmere yo efaanana etya gyeva etya.
I've ever done it like when restaurants have been like they are neighboring each other, so I happen to enter another one webuzisa obutunda first because they make the juice, so you ask to know because they are all having juice inside. For example, so you enter one and there's juice one maker, maybe cocktail one maker over, so they tell you and you ask the food because emmere yonna kuliko neema, they tell you, so you say kankomeo. So when Muganda someone told you when Muganda bwagamba kankomeo, just continue with what you are doing.
No, it is just like when someone texts, it's just like someone when you call someone and they tell you, you know what?
They're just allegations anyway. We're not saying that's really true, but they're allegations.
But when someone says, in most cases, 80% of the chances are continue with your.
Also in my language, by the way, when someone says kangaruke, or when you're calling someone ijatulie, come and we eat, most probably are not.
You're joking. I'm not saying you come and. But however, the most sad part is people are really hungry in these days. You call a person and they're like, "Sebo jangu tulio msadia naja." Because you know we are dealing with a generation.
I think
we are dealing with the world. I think this is the most confident generation when it comes to that.
Unless they are kids, I think
kids will definitely come.
They are not supposed to come. But honestly, what happens when you come? I will share. Nothing to do. But we were still talking about being innovative. How are you really adding up? How are you doing value addition onto your services, onto your production, and also on your customer care? So these were some of the examples we were giving you out or relaying for you. And like, think ahead. Let it trickle your mind and say, what am I even missing out? Paul, if you could give us on the last one, unless you've picked out something. I've given you an example of a person who washes and the one who doesn't. I mean, which one do you choose?
Because when it comes to smartness, you definitely
go to the other person. And then the next thing you hear is kuloga, which we don't want to say around here, but please do something very creative and innovative and add on value onto what you're selling and offering to people.
All right, now we head to number 50. That means it's halfway. We're done with our top 50. Now we're heading into our last 50 of the top 100 business tips for you to run your business if you're going to start your business and your journey to success when it comes to the business ideas. Now, number 50 says, get in place processes and data. Now, proper processes are ones that codify lessons learned and best practice, as the bad processes are the ones that assume people have no initiative and need to be spoon-fed. Now, the line between them is fragile. However, proper processes are more like guidelines with clear explanations of why things are done that way. Bad processes are rigid and exist because things have always been done that way.
Very, and also they continue highlighting for you that as the company grows, it becomes more complicated, and this is very true. But what do you need to do in a smaller company where you have heavily involved in all departments? You can have good instinctive feelings or feel which can actually work or does not work. So you're able to tell when the company is a bit smaller, but which is different from when the company is big. And acquiring unprofitable clients or running costly projects will not scale you into a successful company. This one is a good one, a good insight for people to learn, especially those who have got big companies. You know, when you think you're not getting profits now, we happen to pin it on very many factors when we do not have research at a point, which is not the case in smaller entities, because when something is wrong, automatically you'll know
And I'm also talking about the rigid processes. Is you could see that in most cases people are supposed to change line when it comes to how your innovation plan is. You're not
exactly.
The rigid
That's
process is thinking that things are being done this way, that means it has to stay like this forever. Remember, then forgetting that as people age, our tastes and preferences are definitely changing, and there is always an age bracket that does not want what you're doing. We always have people who are not willing to accept change. That is one of the biggest problems we have as businessmen, because in most cases you would see that a child or someone, I think maybe during your childhood there are certain things that you would love taking. Do you remember there's some juice that we used to take, some powder juice. Forget the Safi. There's Jolly Jazz.
We're talking about it. We're talking about Safi. We don't expect, by the way, an invoice from Babu, because Safi is way back. It's not even in existence. Safi.
I even saw the way people saying that.
Ice.
What about Jolly Jazz? Obaring kapapla, ngobu mixing anga juice.
Okay.
In powder.
I have got it.
So
but those things are not
no longer there. So you could say that Biari wo myaka jawe. So that means, what does it mean?
They are replaced now with other products.
So that means those people realize that with time, bigena to kakasera bigweo. Who knew that Safi at this particular time Majaba with Safi was one of those great drinks that everyone would want to go for. Now when you like Safi, no bakusomero. Baga monomwana ina sente mugaga. Ngomanyuma lwo bokulyanga musomero nga wokanywa. Bamanya ona ina sente. Nga wonywa Safi bagamba
So it was, for me, when I was starting towards Safi, it was like that Jolajus you were saying, different, it had different, of course, tastes. I mean,
yes, the colors.
I think,
and the different people who used to actually go for this. But then with time,
our
you could see
changed. Actually, yes. Our tastes changed. Even if it was there now, I couldn't really go for it because I moved on.
Yes.
So businesses have to learn to move on too. You're saying.
And with the innovators, definitely, you have to tell that with the age, and we have to mention about the age and the preferences. There's a time where, or even the generation, when it comes to generations. Now there's something the current generation will definitely go for, and the other generations will not definitely go for. And you could tell that if it is up to mixing, maybe we said a mixture of the generation of the early 2000s with this current generation.
We also want particular things for young children.
For young, yes. So
why? Let me control myself, but I can't kind of. You feel like you want these eyes to take them, but because the child is taking it, and you feel that like you don't want to be judged by your kid or by your child taking also that particular. Why? So let me just leave it. So that one also limits our, I think, our enrichers. Those are some of the challenges affecting actually some of the products.
Because we are still people have negative.
Yes,
a negative mindset towards it,
like cultures, because I think it's all about the preferences that we are saying.
In most cases, it's also about the health part of it. Okay. Because as a parent, you also no.
What happens to your body?
No, Omani in most cases, no. Omani, we do these fused drinks of the sodas that we normally take. You will go to a doctor and they tell you sodas sin non jerio blambo. nogenda mu ddwaliro Dr. Managamba, alcohol is not good for you.
Yes.
So you will end up finding out that buli kyakunywa it's not good for your health. Only water is only water that is definitely good.
Yes.
No sala nogamba kati let me kale nyweko mpola mpola. Okay. Let me take a little because you never, but all the time when you're taking ngojukira doctor yagamba. So soda simulate. Amazi simalonji, but you're like, regardless, let me take.
Yes.
So those are the times we're living in.
Yeah, and they affect our production. They affect production movement of these products, because when you don't do survey on who is consuming at what time of your products, you tend to lose in big for so very many businesses. So that is why they're telling you actually to get in place processes and data that is going to actually help your business grow. So when you have wrong information or wrong data as service providers, your business is going down or is going up. So you have to get really accurate data. And how do you get it? We've been giving you some of the tips on how you can really get feedback from the people, and also just getting information. These examples we were giving can help you and go in the field and start training. By the way, is my juice taken by only young people, or so what age? These are some of the things that actually can help you. But we're going to take a break, and when we do return, we have got, what do we have when we return?
When we do return, we have the CEO Shima Group of Companies giving us more tips on how traders can live with the pandemic and how they can definitely rejuvenate their businesses in these tough times. We do take a break. We do return here on SMB. Good morning.
Smart 24, driving business.
All right, now 32 minutes past 10 a.m. in the morning. It's SMB as we head into our last segment of the show. Now, following the 42-day lockdown coming to an end last week on Thursday, the president did come out to lift the lockdown, meaning a number of sectors in the economy were let to go back, to return to business and to return to a normal life. However, the question is, how has the economy, where did the lockdown leave the economy, and where did the lockdown leave most of the employers as well as the traders in Uganda? One may ask Rita how these traders are basically going to get through their business, because a number of them have lost customers. Talk about some goods have expired after the 2 months because some people are
some
dealing
of them
in
are going to be actually evicted because if the president did not address the landlord tenant,
the
so
tenant
there is
issue,
still
so
no limitation of
Sigwe president.
Fluma waliwo ayagala okiyingira, so some issues are not addressed yet. So where do they leave traders?
Now, meanwhile, here we have the CEO of Shumuk Industries in Uganda, Mr. Mukesh Shukla, giving the traders out there on how to survive when it comes to the economy and how they can rejuvenate themselves on what they're supposed to be doing, how to set up with all these ideas. Take a look at these tips and we will be right back.
The president and the 190s and population to survive last 2 months and including the 42 days of lockdown. So basically, we are happy that yesterday we have seen some reliefs from next week so that the economy and the business can get some boosters. I can introduce myself, Mukesh Shukla, Director of Shumuk Group of Companies. I welcome you all to the post-COVID era of business from August to December 2021. We all know that the challenges of business due to COVID is not going to go just because of lifting of lockdown, and there are going to remain so many challenges of SOPs following of COVIDs and etc., vaccine issues, make sure that people are healthy. So the entrepreneur challenges are going to remain as far as post-COVID situation is concerned. And if you're asking me the solutions, basically the solutions is to restructure the business in the new environment which we are going to face. So as 190s or as business people, we'll have to review our businesses again and see that we test it on the areas of viability, we test it on the areas of human resource challenges of post-COVID, and we test it in the areas of health risks given to the staffs, and then we select to continue the business, to restructure the business, and to modify the revenue basis of the group. That's what we have discussed in the board meeting of last week, so that we can have a paradigm shift in the businesses, because none of the businesses will remain as it was before in 2020 and in 21 and onwards due to these challenges of COVID and digitalization. So yeah, those are some of the areas we are going to seriously look into and improve. And based on my experiences, I will see that in any new business or existing business, we will have now to review our customer base. Now, customer base means post-COVID and post-financial shocks which we have got in last 2 years. We have to review our customer base and establish their ability to purchase our goods or services, and to review the forecast and projections accordingly. Because customer is the key in any business. If we orient our business to the customer capacity to pay and to disburse the funds, then our businesses will grow still. I think, yes, government and we have to thank the President and the government for bringing us all the way up to this date and surviving in COVID with the immediate vaccination programs and various SOPs. The challenges of the government and where they can improve are as follows. One, they should have a tailor-made, category-wise, strategic approach of revival of the businesses. Let me give you an example. Like in manufacturing, they have to go agro-based manufacturing, value-added metal manufacturing, raw material process manufacturing, and assembly or trading or less value-based manufacturing, and then encourage those areas with the utility value of the future 5 years in terms of revenue base to the government and in terms of viability of the particular industry or particular business. So I know normally the cabinets are not focusing on scientific intervention. So I assume that this time I will like to congratulate Honorable Mambesa, who is our new Trade and Industry Minister, who is part of us as manufacturers, who very well understand the needs of spurting the growth of manufacturers in Uganda. So I'm very happy with that appointment and I congratulate him. And I'm sure that soon they'll put the right mechanism to revive, promote and thrive as far as exports, manufacturing exports is concerned. I think agriculture, manufacturing and value addition will take a lead growth in next 5 years, and we should focus on indigenous domestic raw material processing so that we can grow with our own resources. I am a firm believer of self-sufficiency and self-esteem based businesses where we can use our own resources in terms of manpower or in terms of agriculture crops and process them.
All right, that is Mr. Mukesh Shukla, commonly referred to as Mukesh. And giving the traders out there, and I think you've picked a leaf on how you can definitely survive in these particular times of COVID-19, because we're still living in those times. And imagine we're just from the lockdown, Rita.
Very
and,
well. So many people, when
yes.
they come out to address on how people can continue surviving in this lockdown, one of the measures that couldn't be missed out, and you had very well, about creativity, like even what we talked about here earlier of, there are some people who have lived, can I say standstill life? Like you need to change that and figure out what's new in the environment. Very well. Yes. Like what's new in the environment? We're coming out of the lockdown and there are some businesses that are not going to pick up the pace exactly. Like the audience, I can say the end user. I've learned something today.
The
end user, the customer. Like the customers have changed already their needs.
Yes, and most people are not mainly mentioned about the people who are even being used to going to town. You could see that most people may not resort to towns these days, because I remember businesses are heading out of town as well. So as a businessman, you need to come up with a creative mind and think of something like, what am I going to do? after this time.
Just for example, to highlight for some of the people to get what I'm saying very right, what we're saying very right, Paul. We have been having cargo movement, borders who have been going to different shops in the markets to purchase for customers or to purchase for their trustworthy people, goods and some of them, yes, services, delivering services. And here comes a trader, you're coming out of the lockdown. Like, if you're not going to change towards that, you're going to be left behind. Like, some people are not going to be, are not going to come in Chukubo all the time to buy. But have you taken an initiative when you were in the lockdown to write down some of your potential clients, some of your customers, some of the people that have actually made your business stand out? So this time, how are you going to entice them back? Because they have found, by the way, a very close service or product that they can go with, or even other people to service them. So how are you going to get them back? So let me just give you one tip. If you have noted down the people, if you've not done so, you can do it. There's still time, at least now you can write down people who have sustainably been there for your business. After that, I know as a business person, you have got borders, trust that Kayondo. Kayongo, alright. So
boda wange gwenina.
Kubeera nabangi, let me say, because you're a business person and you're trustworthy.
Tilero kayona ayinza ofuna obuzibu nga waliwo omulala.
Babeerako ne ku stages, especially in Chikubo, waliwo ababoda balina stages eziri kumpi. So you have to trust some borders, or if not, there is a neighbor at your stall there, or kumulyango omulala waliwo neighbor walina ababoda be. Also for the meantime, and after that you can surely drive into your customers' mind, your potential customer clients. Nomkubila, hello, Mama Chiwa. Okay, which business customer can you give me? For example, a name that suits me if you're calling me for business. What do you? Some conveyor wedding.
Nalongo.
Okay, let us go with Nalongo. You're calling your Nalongo. Like, you call hello Nalongo. Chichi, ngato chalabika. Ebintu oyina, waliwo no baboda bange basobola okuletera. You mean, ate nasazeko ne kachika bay, nataddemu products. Ne osobola okulimba mu business okimanyi tukkirizibwa okulimba.
Limba for your benefit.
At least olimba ekintu
ekirungi. Nti ogenda limba in a way that it's benefiting you, but as well bringing also benefiting the end user. Obongo olima mboina quality kumbo ina products ezitali nnungi so kwegamba.
I'm not advising people to give people products that are not good, but you can, like, there are great lies. I can say great lies. Osobola okulimba omuntu ntino kali akatete iwo buli nabongeddemu ki nabongeddemu material oba color. That one is a simple lie, yes, and it will entice me in the
when you're trying to entice somebody. Okay.
Leto wa boda woyo muleka ndetere ebintu bwebiti. Do you see how you're coping up with the situation? So not being kati gobera ku mudala gonoja bagula osaba meka abasubuzi basically emu bilia
kitundu ne batandika okugulawo
notulawo. Like, you spend all the time sitting there tokubyeko na kasimu to entice your customers, your potential clients, or those people who have been buying for you. Like, ochali mubulamu buli, let us say, even pre-COVID, as if COVID 10 never. So please make sure you adhere and at least adjust in regards to what is moving on or what's going on to the country.
And definitely, because in most cases when it comes to COVID, we have to understand that a lot of things have changed. Not only businesses, but everything, the way we're running life is now quite different. We have adopted a new situation. Back in the time where you could do a number of things even overnight, now we have curfew. So that means you're limited. So the things that you would do at the business are the same things you're supposed to do at your own home. The ones that you would, if your business would rotate maybe till midnight, now the other 6 hours are definitely going to cover you up for only maybe till curfew time is done. So you need to adapt to that situation as well.
Very. And to conclude on this one, as we go on to our next one, just to highlight for you in case you missed the president's guideline or SOP in regard to Chikubo. Chikubo was opened under the following conditions according to the president. All kiosks within corridors of the building should be removed for the purpose of decongesting pathways. That one is ongoing, headed by KCCA. And roadside vending within Chikubo is banned. This will be relocated to the alternative venues where vending is permitted by KCCA. Chikubo should remain wholesale trading center. The ministers for Kampala's RCC, KCCA and enforcement agencies to ensure compliance. And also lastly, manufacturers, wholesalers and traders should open outlets in the various towns and business centers in the outskirts of the central business district. Traders should adapt to e-commerce. So the president also gave them tips. Traders adapting to e-commerce and also opening up an alternative store, not only in Kampala, but outside the city centers.
And definitely, one of the biggest challenges we have as traders is most cases we yearn to get out of the government. We want to, overgo beyond away from what the government has restricted or what the government has to offer, because in most cases there are a lot of things that happens. Now meanwhile, this particular one also reminds me of a taxi experience I had yesterday. You could see that a number of prices have been hiked when it comes to transport fares. A number of taxis are hiking prices. A journey you would go for 3,000. I remember yesterday using a taxi from Kajansi. I'd taken time without using a taxi. But very early in the morning I picked a taxi. There was a lot of traffic jam that I had to remember. Even the engines of the taxis were already working out.
Was there AC?
No, the president did refuse SAs because of that. So, but what I do remember most is every conductor did have a sanitizer, at least on the stages I saw. But to my shock, I went from Kajansi to town at 5,000. Initially, I used to, before even the COVID situation came in, we used to go to town from Kajansi at only 2,000. When COVID came in, the prices were hiked to 4,000 before the president came in, and then they were reduced to 3,000. But then now they have been re-hiked to 5,000. Yes, to 5,000. Now take a look at this report that we have here in Smart Means Business on some of the taxi drivers and the conductors with claims that they did not change or hike any prices. We'll be back shortly.
Good day, taxi. Abasabaze bajja munange buli muntu engeri gye batuwaddemu ennaku bbiri abantu beeteeketeeke. Abasabaze bajja batandise dde okujja kubanga ffe tubadde tusuubira nti kuva ku makya tunaatikka emmotoka nga 3 naye tuzitiseeko. Twebaza Katonda nti abantu batandise okukomawo mu kibuga. Entebe tubadde okujja tuleetera abantu siringisi 15,000 okuva entebe, era bwe kiri. Okuddayo ne Nakawa tubadde tubatwalira nnusu 8 era tubatwalira 8. Agende e Kajansi, agende e Zana tumutwalira 4,000, agende e Kajansi tumutwalira 15,000. Ekawuku siringisi 6.
Nyagangenze bampita Mwase Muniro. Ndi mukozi mbere badde mbi nnyo. Kuba tubadde wakanga tutudde kati tulina kye tukola. Bakasitoma era kyo mu byonna soka kwebaza kuba nti emu esinga 0. Okutuula ewaka n'okuvaako ewaka kisinga mukaawo. Kuba osobola okujja kasaza n'okuba nti nembeera abasaabaze era bakyali babbula abantu era bakyatambuza bigere. Kwera omuntu okumugamba 2,000 okuva emutungo okujja ne Nakawa kimuzibwaliya n'agamba siinaamu segera omuwaso okutoka n'omuntu n'agamba ina sinsi 10 kulembera beeriwo era ogamba ka muntu akwa sina kyakola kuba nti era abantu era basinga obungi era bali mutambuza bigere abantu tebali mu kulinya balina sente
tunaba kulinnyisa fa ab'entebe stage sente bulijjo zibadde zetutwalira era zetutwalira kati ebbeeyi yonna yaliwo edda olinga embeera tennaba kugira era yeeriwo. Era ababogera nti nno be yalinnye bali kubya balimba tugenda kuongeza tetusobola kuongeza asisobola kuongeza
amanya Sabwe Saidi chairman Nakawa Entebbe stage ale sebo sente zetubadde tutwalira luli emabega nakati zetutwalira so si luli eri nga tutwale 14 kati tutwala abantu half abantu 8 babiri kuki ku mutto naye obuzibu bwe tusanga abantu naffe tubalaba tebalina ssente naye ate ng'emmotoka tuziteekamu amafuta ate okuva eri mu byalo tujjayo emmotoka nga nkalu tetufuna bulungi bantu naye wano mu lugendo lwali olw'2,000 twalufuula lwa 1,400 era tuba tetwayongerako kinene kuba amafuta gakoze eki amafuta go gasigala galinnya ne service asigala alinnya kati okusigala nga ffenna tuli mulimu nga tetuvudde mu mulimu twayongezaamu akasente ako kato.
Now there you've seen a number of taxis, a number of taxi operators or taxi drivers claiming that they did not hike.
I like the other one who was just
claiming
also
that they did not hike
highlighting
these prices.
Kati na kolachi nati I think not kutya nachi esigaliza muli ochimalayo the statement omuntu bagamba embere ebadde mbi nnyo kitegeza ina kyayongerako
surviving asobola okuzzawo emyezi dirija abadde takwa
ne bagattako they have not hiked but honestly they've added in most of the taxis the people have even me the people I have contacted or shared with information they've told me they've added in at least 1,000
yes,
or
in most cases 500 taitawo lwalukumi ebitaano tebirina kyebigenda bijja mugulira amazzi
ebitaano bikola sebo
no okay according to okusinziira ku mbala yaabwe kati omusajja agambye bamaze ebbanga nga tebakola
ate they have to so
kati alaba ebitaano
these conductors are funny akugamba sebo ninagula sanitizer olowooza eno sanitizer njijjawo
ate ng'olusa yakumixingidde amazzi walika liquid soap
kwegamba I'm incurring all the costs of sanitizer I'm incurring the costs of paying
and even the fact that some of them did not receive the money the government had aligned for them the 100,000 katukegamba obusungu obwo n'ababuvuze babusiza kuffe abantu bawansi the average people here so benefiting
Nazivako. But anyway, from yesterday, the latest we have 9,000 people who were vulnerable or who were supposed to receive the Nabaj's money. 9,000 people, 9,000 people's data has been clarified, and we await for Honorable Minister to come out and say the fate of the 9,000 people to actually receive this money. So, Abanto Rwanda, not so? Rwanda is 9,000.
No. 9,000
Kenda.
Yeah, close to 10,000.
Okay, they are yet receiving actually their money or their fund from Nabanja. We still await on that.
Now, for now, as we are heading out, we do thank you for keeping it Smart Means Business from 7 a.m. to 10:50 a.m. I'm JORRAM Posongo, but meanwhile, before we do leave, we want to leave you with to 11 because yes,
you
to 11.
excited going to text
so now, before we do leave, I would leave you with a quote from Paulo Coelho, who says, "The world is changed by your example, not by your opinion." So we all have opinions, and regardless, no one has to debate your opinion, but someone will learn something from what you will learn from your example. What you're doing will be an example to what people want, not what you are going to say. So do something that is going to impact change. And also to the drivers, the government did give you 1 full month to at least go and change or renew your licenses. That is till September 1st. I'm JORRAM Posonko on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
And for me, this one, I'm getting it from JORRAM Posonko, where he was reading news stories around here. Someone quoted that COVID-19 will only go away if the world decides to take it away. But I add, COVID-19 will only go away if only the manufacturers, in quotes, take it away. Good morning, RITAH KABANYORO on social media platforms. Coming up is Yuji Tukole.
Smart 24, driving business.